Now we have Sam.
Got it?
Yeah.
Gotta quit being quiet again, secret, huh?
She want me to.
It comes in, you determine the color. Now, there is, one of the representatives that is on the Zoom call.
Yep.
Can we pull him up?
Which one do I?
Rachel Rowe.
Oh, great.
Jonathan.
Can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect.
Charles Andrews here. I just went through and explained about the polyurea product, showed the video of it.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if any of the council members have any questions of you concerning this, or if you want to briefly talk about the product and how it will work on this roof that we're looking at, that would be a good time. First of all, does any council members have any questions for John?
I don't know if we've asked for, how long have you been in business?
14 years.
14 years. Your location, you say is Prattville?
Prattville, yes, sir.
Okay. They show us examples of a couple places you've done product on. Anything in Alabama? Have you installed any?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
We all over the state of Alabama, several roofing projects.
Okay.
One of our big projects was Masonite, which is a large, they build all the doors for Lowe's up in Haleyville, Alabama. So 250,000 square feet. We did all kinds of works on their internal gutters, but several really high profile jobs. And y'all should have a list of my references there. Also, one of the representatives, I don't know if he'll make it by the time y'all wrap up, but he's going to show up. We had a conflict or a difference of time. I apologize that I'm not there staring at you, but some samples are on the way. A lot of pictures are on the way. He'll be there by 4:00. All right. Do you want me to go, or do y'all have some? I tell you all the benefits of it.
Was it that Masonite building? Was it similar in roofing material? Or was it roofing material you went over?
Yeah. So in the internal gutters is where we used.
Was it a similar material? Was the roof a metal type roof or not?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is a pitched metal roof.
Okay.
And that's really the benefit of our application is you can take, an older roof. And I know this building isn't super old, but specifically concerning, Masonite, they had a, 50-plus-year-old building. And what happens over time is the sun beats down on that metal, deteriorates it, heats it up, expands it, contracts it, creating all these areas that would be considered leak points. So when we spray a coating on top of the metal, it actually becomes a recovery system for the metal, so you don't have to replace the metal. Specifically for the Sterling Properties, I think that's the name of the building. There's some malfunction based upon the design of the metal roof. Obviously, the ridge or the peak area is a big source of issues for the building owner. And so specifically on this spec, we used a certain type of polyurea that has a elongevity to it, to where it can expand and contract with the size of this building. And so specifically along that peak, we're going to hit about a 12-foot wide space, designated to that peak where all the problems are. Excuse me. And then do a just complete recoat of the whole roof with the polyurea. Now, I don't know if y'all noticed, but it's going to be like an aluminum color or, a shiny color. So it's going to reflect the energy of the sun away from the building, which, the building owner will be super thankful for the condition of the interior of that building based upon the reflectivity of the coating. Now, are y'all familiar with a spray-in bed liner or Line-X, like in the back of your truck?
Yes.
All right, just so y'all know, that material is very, very, very similar to this material. So you can imagine, the structural integrity that you're going to receive from this coating. There is no deterioration of the product over time. So the sun does not diminish, the effects or the properties of the product. So we're talking, top of the line tank material.
What about warranty?
Warranties, I met the standards that was in the specifications that y'all put out over the newspaper, which was a 10-year service warranty and then a renewal at the end of that 10 years. So, what's going to happen is me and whoever is over. All right. So Tim Vaught is somebody that solicited a bid from me. I don't know what his position is with City Hall, but I'm assuming he's over these buildings. So whoever that is 10 years from now, that representative from City Hall and the representative from my company will need to inspect that roof and just make sure that there's nothing that needs to be, touched up. No big tree fell on the roof and, cause the product to fail in any way. And then we will renew at that point an additional 10 years.
So if your company is no longer in business at the end of 10 years, where do we go?
Then you would, you can buy one through the manufacturer.
I'm not talking,
At
I'm
that
talking
point.
about you, since you're the one doing it.
Well, if I'm not here, if I just so happen to die or something like that, then you're correct. iPhone won't be here, but SPI, the manufacturer behind the product, they will be here. Well, I mean, they could obviously not be in business also, but we're talking about a bunch of what ifs. They've been around for a long time and longer than me, obviously.
Well, we have been bit before, so.
Yes. No, I understand the question. And I can appreciate the question. And, I can find out how long they've been in business. And I know that they will back their products up just like any other manufacturer will. And they actually wrote the specification that that y'all put out in the, that y'all put up in the newspaper. They wrote that specification. That is exactly how they would design this build.
All right, Mr. Hickson, you have any questions on? Good. Yeah.
That's the main person more satisfied right there.
Is this the product you're looking for?
Yeah, yes.
Do you have any connections with any contact with them or any other companies that you feel secure in this product you put up there?
No, I just,
Okay.
I got them, or heard about iPhone,
Okay.
and when I wanted to, rather than insulate the back, the inside of the roof,
Yes.
I wanted to spray foam.
Okay.
And when we were doing the construction, that's how I met iPhone.
Okay.
Do I have any relationship with them?
I'm not, that's not necessarily I'm after. What I'm after is the fact that if you've already
Yeah,
done
this
it,
is a really good product.
okay. I want you happy as much as want us to have a product that'll do what we want to do.
Well, my concern is the leak is on the ridge, right?
Yep.
Okay,
There
if,
are
Well,
several
not
leaks.
necessarily. That's where this all started, but there's leaks over by the, I'm gonna say the east wall, is that the east wall? You know where the insulation fell down?
Yeah.
That's the east wall,
Yeah.
right? There's leaks there. There's leaks over one of the folder gluers, the electronic, we tarp that machine in the rain because it leaks them. There's leaks.
There's multiple
Over the office area, that new built office area. There's stains in the seal, the T-bar seal. Okay, so it's.
it's
the building
absolutely,
is a leak.
is it absolutely necessary to do the entire roof? That's my point.
In my opinion, yes, 100%. Don't bother doing any of it if you're not doing the whole thing.
Because $220,000 on borrowed money,
Well, Yeah, I mean, when we're talking buckets, we're not talking drip. Okay. They have a 55-gallon drum. 45-gallon drums where the leaks are, catching water.
Yes, it's frustrating, I can.
Well, it's just.
Oh,
It's
for
tried
good.
to be, we have tried to remediate it all kinds of different ways. The base problem is the roof was not properly installed ever. And it is crooked. Okay, so there's the problem. That's where this comes from on a relatively young building. So that's where it comes from.
Right, and as before, the proposal that we were going to go with was take the $1 million we got off the sale, take 200,000 is what we initially thought that we would cover this, but then all the construction costs increased on us. And I guess, sir, can you speak to that, the construction costs?
Concerning the material,
About price increases. Oh,
yes. Currently right now, the price increase is locked in concerning this project. But it's not been, how do I say this? It's not been real convenient in my industry. So, you know, I'm in the polyols and isocyanate industry, which are two very raw materials that I spray foam with. I spray foam roofs with, I create polyurea with, and every single one of my products are up basically 50 cents a pound. So that's drove my costs up significant. So, you know, to better answer your question, it's not been great for our industry. I think, you know, right now there's about 6 or 7 different barges from China that are held up from actually accessing US because they think Biden is going to drop the tariffs. So they're not wanting to bring the raw materials into the US until those tariffs are dropped. You know, that's basically what the manufacturers are telling us. And that A side is one side of our material, the isocyanate. Now the B side, the reason it was so affected was those 2 hurricanes that hit Louisiana messed up 2 polyol plants that were right there off the coast. And they make up, you know, close to 50% of the polyols in the United States, which obviously is a drastic hit for our industry. And, you know, there's more to that story, but anyhow, that's why the shortages are there. And right now, literally the way it looks, not talking about this project, but it looks like March. I mean, we very well might not get actual spray foam to spray foam houses. Everything has gone to rationing, and it's pretty wild. I've never seen anything in the 14 years that I've been in the industry, anything like this.
Thank you, sir. Okay, and I guess the other 20,000 was where we would had in a contingency fund that we would be able to use. And I guess the other question was if Sterling at some point would consider some adjustment in the rent to at least help us to cover that 20,000.
I know, Charles, when you and I talked initially at the beginning of this project, I said we may be willing to. I will give you the state of Sterling packaging. Okay. To date, since we have come here, we have lost $4.9 million. We are still not profitable. And we lost $100,000 a month this year. Our number one problem is we have a massive order book and we can't produce it fast enough, or not fast enough. We can't get the employees to produce it fast enough. Okay. And it's a big big, big concern. Not only for me, but for our partners. So, I'm gonna tell you if,
I would say a lot would depend on conditions and.
yeah,
something we
as
discussed
we,
at a later
as
date.
we do better, and we haven't, we believe we can do much better. Okay?
Okay.
Um,
Well, I would
We
think,
will, we would be happy to consider that.
Okay.
I will tell you that our contract says, hey, you're responsible for the envelope of the building and the air conditioning. And we've looked after, we've spent $25,000 on air conditioning repairs in the last couple of years on new equipment that is just off. So we have tried to, and we never brought those to the city. We just said, hey, listen, this is normal operating stuff. Let's just keep going. Okay? There's no time to
right,
bother with those types of things. We don't want to be this person.
I think that,
So that's where we're at. We're at.
I think the council would be amenable to discussing it. At a later time.
I'm fine. We're fine with it.
Okay. Okay, well, that's kind of where we are. We do have a bid out there. At this point in the work session, to ask you to consider accepting the bid when we go into the council meeting. So, it can be paid for. Berlin has been good partners for it. I think it's based on everything that's been showed to us, it's a good product. I don't think we'll be dealing with having to do anything on that roof for quite some time after we utilize it.
He mentioned something about warranty through manufacturer. Did we researched that in?
No.
It's just,
Go ahead.
yeah, no, they definitely sell them. They're just really expensive, and I would rather y'all work through me. I can get y'all a price. I just didn't, there's the thing with this product is there's no diminishing value over time. So, paying a high price for, a warranty for a product that has no failure or diminishing properties to it, it's like paying for a warranty for your bed liner. You know what I'm saying? Nobody thinks about their bed liner in the back of their truck, and they throw, chains and tools and center blocks, bricks all over that, Rhino liner or Line-X or whatever you want to call it. There is no diminishing product over it, which is why they don't have a, warranty program for it. But SPI will provide a warranty. It's just a very expensive, way for a manufacturer to hold your hand, when I would rather just come down there, inspect it once a year, make sure that nothing's going on, and, stand behind our product. That's just who we are as a company anyhow.
Any more questions? All right, so, I do appreciate it, and, I know the bid came in more than what we anticipated. I think we understand why now, but, the building does belong to the city of Monroeville. And so we gotta do something with it. And this appears to be, based on the information coming out, construction prices, the most effective way to get it done. So,
Yes, sir. Y'all will be extremely pleased with the product. I know that. Obviously leaks be eliminated. I'm excited about the energy savings properties of the coating. They're going to see benefits there also.
all right. All right. We thank you.
Yeah. Thank y'all guys very much. Again, my representative should be pulling up right now. He'll have samples and pictures Again, for some reason, we thought we were supposed to be there at 5 o'clock. No big deal. I apologize for my absence, and thank y'all for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
It's not warm and fuzzy about the warranty, but I think the product's good. That's the only thing. Hey, Hannah, I asked questions last time and we got something.
Once we get the warranty, do you think we can look at the warranty and in there, add to the warranty that states in the company dissolves, that the company will outsource another warranty from the actual, the SBI, or, I mean, just something, once they put the product down and then we get a warranty in hand, can we write on there as the city that, make sure that there's a clawback in there, in the warranty?
I don't think he gave us that option.
And it's going, I just flat don't believe that it won't crack. I just don't,
It's
believe
hard to believe any moving structure.
it. Just don't believe it.
Flexibility of a roof that big.
But I ain't gonna crawl up there to see.
Maintain.
Well, the thing about this product is it's got some elastic qualities to it. You know,
You're not dealing with electricity on this table and this crack right here. You're dealing with something the size of a football field.
Yeah.
you know,
But it's designed to move. Okay. I mean, that's the elastomerics in there. It's designed to move. The same, it's a two-part process. Two chemicals go together, and the same chemicals are one of the same stuff as the stuff that Alan Webb uses at Green Products. So, and when he met the supplier, they got to talking because he had a better price than the guy that Alan was buying from. So I don't know that the warranties, I mean, we can get into looking at architectural implications of warranties, but the warranties are usually done by the installer. But there may be, I mean, we can talk to with Jeremy about what the warranty from SBI would be.
That it would transfer. So in the event the company dissolves, that the warranty will transfer to the manufacturer.
I don't know that they transfer like that.
You're arguing a moot point. Because we have, at some point down the road here, we're gonna buy that building from the city. It's already in our contract with the city,
Mhm.
and that's not 10 years down the road. So we're happy with 10 years. Okay. By that time, we will be owners of that building. Okay, so I think after, I don't believe it cracked. If this was in Canada, I believe it would crack. Because you can take a plastic binder, very similar material, and it'll crack and pull. Just leaving it in your car. Okay. In this heat, I think it'll expand. So I believe that. Do I believe it's the best product for our roof for that building? Absolutely. Because it's just been a battle keeping that building dry inside. Particularly when food safety people come and inspect. We're running around putting white paper up on ceilings and covering stains and wiping stains off the ceiling and all those things. And in particular, this is the year where the food safety inspection is not prearranged. They just walk in one day. And so there is no time to remediate any problem. So you have to have the problem correct. First in the day. So I think it is that.
Right.
Can you let Sam in?
no,
Lots more coming.
I'll have a closed session.
It's not executive session. It's
Oh,
just
never mind. You can say it, but I think we're done.
Yeah, he's done. He can,
Am I good?
yeah, you can hit on.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Sam, you want to come in? He asked me to make copies of this, Mayor, for
Okay.
everyone, and to give him a copy too. Here you go. You
You don't want me?
can, you can there or over there.
Okay, we asked Mr. Shot to come in, because the city has moved forward with some LED lighting projects and it's coming our facilities. But the discussion came up about the doing LED lighting for our street lights in the city, and to discuss what it would take to move to the LED lighting and possibility of some savings at some point. And Mr. Shot?
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for asking me to come speak today. Christy Silvernagle, who's our LED lighting rep, and we've met with the city a couple times now over the last year or so. Does everybody have a copy of this? So this front and back here, if you look at the side, that the bottom right-hand number is 1232. We'll look at that side first. So that is a comparison. We offer two to replace the street lights from the conventional bulbs they are now to LED. There are two kind of standard wattages for replacement. The first one, which is this side, is a 35 watt bulb. The opposite side of the page is a 53 watt. So the 35 watt, the difference would be about $1,230 a month. And ours, the 53 watt, is quite a bit more. So the difference of over $4,000 a month. Personally, in the areas that I cover, I've only had one area, one municipality do any 53 watts. And the reason that they used those 53 watts was because they took two existing lights and basically put one in between where those two were, removed the two and replaced with one higher wattage is why they use them. Everybody else has used the 35 watt, which is obviously their equivalent to the existing lights that are there now, which are 70 watt conventional style. These are a 35 watt LED. So the light you get, one of the biggest requests we get in lighting is, I want my white style light back. You know, we used to have those mercury vapor lights, which was a whiter light, and then they stopped manufacturing those. We went back to a high pressure sodium, which is more of a yellow light. And so when we replace one for somebody who had the old one, we always get the comment, why is this light yellow? So that whiter light is much more popular, which is what these are. And you really get a better light, a better output for a comparable price. Now, if you look currently, the city has many different types of streetlights. If you look in that first column, that first line, open bottom 70 watt HPS, high pressure sodium light. That's what a lot of those first two lines are, what the majority of them are, 70 watt and 100 watt. There's over almost 900 or so of those. Then there's some hodgepodge in there. There's some floodlights, some 175. You see there's some of that MV, that's the mercury vapor, that's those old white lights. Not very many of those left because they don't manufacture them anymore. Then there's some random, floodlight, 250 watt, 400 watt floodlights, and some different varieties. If we go over to the right-hand column of the page, where you see LED fixture description, those are what it changes to, those LED equivalent lights. So the majority of them would go to that 50, you see 936 in the count column, would be those 35 watt bulbs. That's the vast majority of the almost 1,200 lights. 936 of them would be that 35 watt standard bulb we're talking about here. There are some other lights in there as well that, based on kind of what they are, need to be one of these other types of lights. And you can see the price comparison for each. one of them, and most of them are pretty comparable. If the city chose to sign the master contract, generally how we would do it is in districts, in areas. So some cities have said, hey, let's do it by council district. So we start in 1 or 6 or 4, whatever the city's preference is, and do it that way. We can target certain areas first, if that would be the city's preference. We're open, but obviously we can't do them all at one time. So it would take several weeks to get them all implemented, but we generally do areas. The mapping department will come up with a map and say, here's maybe that's council district. So we'll start here, go to this one next, go to this one next until we get all that accomplished. So that is, the agreement is a standard agreement. It's the same basic concept as what the city's always had. Basically, Alabama Power owns the fixtures and rents them to the city. We maintain all the repairs for them. So if they go out, which they'll go out, LEDs as a general rule are a lot hardier than the conventional style bulb, where you have a bulb and maybe a ballast depending on the light and the fixture itself, where these are all just one thing. So the diode goes out, we put a whole new fixture up. There's not a bulb or a unit to unscrew, you get a whole new fixture. So we maintain all of those. There's no upfront capital cost to the city, and there's no maintenance cost to it. So we cover all the maintenance for them, as long as they're up.
Sam, I thought I heard at one time it's gonna save us some money.
So we're the same. So the city has 2 different types of lighting. So we have a street light account, which is a street light rate, which is a rate that we don't have any wiggle room on as far as the pricing. And then all the other outdoor lighting is what they call rate FPL, which is just outdoor lighting rate. That's where most of the savings you'll see comes from. So the lights that we've already done, some of those project areas, like Clausell Park, there was quite a bit of savings in that. So all the ones that are not the lights that are not street lights, lights in parks, lights on buildings, lights in parking lots, things like that. Those are where, when you convert those non-street light lights from conventional to LED, that's where you see the savings. Fixture A over fixture B. So street lighting, there are so many fixtures, in the city that it's you see a little bit of a difference there monthly. But I think Clausell Park was, yes.
Mhm.
And I don't remember the number right offhand, but there were some savings there, and some of the other ones we've done as well. All the non-street lights have had savings.
So we need to do all the red ones and the ones in the black category there. We need to not do them because those ones are gonna cost us more.
Let's see what else we got.
All the red ones are the ones that are savings on. So that one area that where you're gonna do the bulk of them, that's the one with the biggest increase.
Which area are you looking at?
That 906, the third one down.
Yes, sir. And there's a bulk of them there because that replaces 5 or 6 of these lines over here just because they're different, and some of them you save money on. I mean, you're replacing, there's only 275 watt metal vapor lights, but we're replacing that with a $7 fixture, $10 fixture with a $7 fixture. 100 watts or 983, so you're paying almost 10. You're replacing that with a 747 fixture. There is savings in there, but the net is an increase. So it just,
areas though, like where we've just continued to add lights in areas, and you look at some areas and, the spacing requirement now would not permit that. Is there any way that can be, South Alabama is a prime example.
Mhm.
You can drive through there is not the need for the amount of street lights we have, except for maybe at a gate where there's not any.
Well, so state highways are a little different, which South Alabama is also Highway 21. So we can't, there's a DOT regulation that states you cannot take away from existing lighting. You can add to it, but you can't take away from it. So that's not an Alabama power rule, that's a AlDOT rule. Well, I think we spoke a little bit about that with, I want to say was it Drury Road? Some lights over that way, I think, is what brought that conversation up
The
initially.
bypass.
On the bypass, that was it. So state highways are a little different, but generally speaking, and if that changes, if we get, if the city decides to go with the master contract, we'll convert all the lights. If down the road you say, hey, Dennis Street has, 10 lights and needs 6 lights, we can adjust that. That's not a problem. We'd have to, sign like an addendum and redo the thing, the paperwork. That's just a formality. So I mean, we can adjust it at any time based on what the council's wishes are. And we've done that some other places. That example I gave earlier of the 53 watt fixture, that's exactly what happened. They did a whole string of 35 watts, and one of the residents complained just kind of about where they were, and so they said, well, we're going to go back, put a bigger bulb. We're going to go every other spot instead of all those. And that was an adjustment. They signed a master contract. We went back and changed that one area. So.
Now this rate is a monthly charge, not a yearly charge. So it'd $4,000 would be times 12.
Well, that's the 53 watts. So we're we're looking at the other page, 1232.40.
Because this is what we currently pay, $11,531.09 a month.
Mhm.
And then that's what we will be paying if we
Okay.
sign the master agreement, is $12,763. So it's an additional $1232. But like
Yeah.
Sam was saying, once we get them all in, then the city can come back and look at the city streets and see if we need to
And I would,
decrease.
right. And I would suggest it's worked better in my experience to take away after the fact when you see what's up there, because the lighting in general is better lighting. You're going to get a brighter, wider light that looks more like a daylight, type thing.
But
So
the people that live there are not gonna see that like the same way we will.
what? Yeah. Well, and sometimes it's too much light. And sometimes we've had some places where somebody said, okay, I used to have an old yellow light on the street, and now this one's so bright, it's right in my, it's too bright for my bedroom window area. And we can adjust those. I mean, things are going to happen. You're never going to make everybody happy, so you're going to have, some people say, I need another light on my street. I want this one moved or taken down, so we can work with all that. Well, we can,
Sam, the first light that I called, we needed to get fixed, that I called you up on, and still haven't got fixed.
where is it?
On Veterans, the one's closest to the new culvert. That one's ribboned out at the beginning and it's still out.
Between Foxron and Stacy.
It's on Veterans.
It's on Veteran. There's 3 lights there. One starts at Stacy and Agriculture Drive, and there's one more by that first house, and there's one heading down.
There's
that hill.
3 that are out.
No, there's one. That's
it's
the only one
flagged?
that's out. Yeah.
So it's on Veterans by Stacy.
Yeah, it's the closest one towards it's the last one went side road, closest one towards the culvert, new culverts.
Where that goes.
Poles marked, we marked the beginning.
And let's get, what color is it? Pink tape that we get?
Pink. But somebody just taken down, it was still there a couple weeks ago.
Well, I know the ones that, I know Al, you sent me some, and some of those were duplicates from the big list we did. And then I put the other ones out there myself when you and I spoke, Tuesday, Wednesday, one day last week. So those should be done now as well, but as far as I know, which I don't know why those got overlooked, but all the other ones on the list, they went by the list that y'all submitted and literally did orders themselves, and so us mad. So they went by and said, all right, this is 123 Main Street, went to that one, did themselves an order, repaired it, replaced it, and then checked off the list. So
Manny and them did a lot there for a little while, yeah.
Mhm. And going forward, one, the LEDs are going to go out a lot less frequently than conventional ones do.
Well, and then you'll take care of all the ones that are out that are not fixed now.
Yeah, Well, as far as I know, other than these, we shouldn't have any, other than ones that we just, haven't been reported yet. So, and that's always gonna happen. I mean, we're always gonna have, a limb's gonna fall on something, hit something, somebody's gonna hit a pole with a car, lightning strikes, I mean, it's an ongoing thing. So, I mean, but as soon as y'all get them, send them to us, send it out pretty consistently, shoot me an email with, 4 or 5 here and there as they come up. So y'all feel free to do that as well.
I'll go through and, give y'all opportunity to look over this, check if there was okay on the contract.
Would this be something that we look at next year's budget, starting with or not?
How long does it take to order the LEDs?
So generally, it's a 6 to 8, once we receive a signed contract, we order them, immediately after, and it's been 6 to 8 weeks for most of them. So, and then we start the installation process. So it'd be a couple months really before we kind of got started on, the installation for them.
Well,
Like other things, we probably got enough, something, wiggle room somewhere to pay that extra bit.
we'll go back and look at that, and then we'll stay on the agenda next council meeting. Okay. All right, thank you, man.
Thanks,
Yes, sir. If y'all have any questions in the meantime, feel free to let me know. And I'll more run by the office on the way. And on the way out, give them that. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
You asked Mr. England to go ahead and come in. And Jeremy, once I get past Mr. England, I think I have a brief break. I think.
Okay.
Get you.
All won't take long, because all we want is money.
Are you okay?
Okay, this, what we're discussing today, of course, the city sold the industrial deal at the park. And Trustmark has the loan on the building, so we are, the city
Improvements.
improvements, I'm sorry. So anyway, Trustmark has the loan, and we've been in discussions with, and the city wants to use part of the proceeds to pay down the loan. And so that, and I believe Mary has paperwork on that. So I've gotten the paperwork done, you may have it, but essentially what we are prepared to do, and I spoke with the mayor and with Mary, and I think is to pay your $800,000 down on the bond, which current balance of $1,559,601. So that would pay you down to $759,601. We'll leave the payment as it is, which is $7,583 a month. But what will trigger is, because the property is not being used for manufacturing, the bond becomes taxed instead of taxes. So the interest rate will go from 2.49 to 2.77. Which I did in to also say that in the original bond, the rate went to 3.49. And Trustmark agreed not to be back to rate 9 because the city and rates have kind of come back down a little bit. So basically, over the next 24 months, it's about a $4,000 difference to the city. It would have been about a $10,000. So anyway, that's we're approved. Preston Bolt is the attorney that's in there now. He'll prepare the final documentation, and I believe Mary should have everything.
I gave it to,
You
sent
got,
it to
okay,
everyone.
and so that, basically, that's what you guys or just need to decide is what to do with that. And I know I spoke with the mayor also, and then, you can always pay extra, and I think your idea is to, I think we just have a police station that paid off, right there. And so starting in next fiscal year budget to just double up on it, because it's almost the same payment, so, which will reduce what's owed.
When is the maturity date?
April
2024?
I think it's
Okay.
April 1st,
Yeah.
24, I believe. If I'm not mistaken.
By following along that path we discussed, we'd be down to about $320,000. So that is going to be a agenda for the council meeting to adopt the ordinance to accept the bond and the rate. Okay. All right.
Any questions for me or?
Simple.
Thank you very much. Okay. Let's see what's the-
Thanks, Paul.
This is Mr. Jeremy Edwards. He had some samples of the roofing material and also some photographs that he wanted to show. And that gives us, we can look at those and then we'll get into, I just my time.
And that is not what you're going to install, that double foam type thing.
So you could do foam over the top of it. What we're more suggesting is something that's a little more malleable and flexible because a building that size has got a considerable amount of movement in it. So foam could actually crack on the structure.
Yes.
This is looser, not, it's more flexible than what you.
Yeah, and that's it installed thicker kind of over top of a substrate. That's pretty well the same chemical makeup right there. One of them just has, you can kind of see in this picture right
That's
here.
what you have was hard.
Yeah. I think that when I had maybe a little bit.
Yeah. And it may be, there's different ones, and the reason why one like that is chosen is because of elongation. So you start putting a coating over top of a building that's 80,000 square foot, and there's shrinkage with any coating. It shrinks 10% and a building moves. So if you put a hard, rigid coating over top of it, you would experience cracking. So it's essential.
And that's what we're concerned with.
That's right. It's essential to have a highly elastomeric coating like what we're seeing right there. So, yeah, and you can kind of see the ARC version of the polyurea in this picture. So you can see it's got reflectivity to help cool down the building. And that also reflects light to prevent any premature UV degradation too. Around. Here's a structure up in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Large hotel roof that was sprayed with the ARC polyurea. The picture of a commercial building sprayed with the Elastaflex in just a tan color on a commercial building. Printed this one off more so you can see in this particular structure it has what I call like a bathtub or a dike style, which is poor building, but nevertheless it obviously had leaking issues.
Now,
So
that was in the video, wasn't it? Is that a tar base up underneath this?
this was a mixture of a lot of it was just a plethora of different roof coatings under this, anything from mod bed to synthetic actually roof systems that were underneath this one in particular. But the photo helps demonstrate the technology and its ability to waterproof structures. Sprayed over top of foam. You guys can see some more here where these are just polyurea sprayed over top of the metal building.
Are these y'all's installations on these pictures or just?
So I'm with the manufacturer who actually make the fluids that go on these. In this one, they use a little bit of the expanding polyurea over top of the screws. We've got a picture that helps demonstrate close up. So basically what we're proposing, right, is over top of all the screw heads on that building and over top of that dilapidated ridge cap is putting this expanding polyurea. You can basically see a zoomed in shot right here over top of a screw head and a seam in which that expanding polyurea bridges it, and then the harder, more elastomeric polyurea would go over top of that as an agent. So that's put down the surface. It expands, and then you put your elastomeric coating down over top of it.
Of course, a lot of this depends on how it's installed. I mean, if it's uniformly put on.
Correct. So that's basically, and some of that's done from a technology standpoint as well with what's called dwell times and gel times. So this would lay down and kind of spread out. So it stays wet for a considerable amount of time to be sprayed on roofs. So,
Jeremy, one of the big questions was about warranty. And if you could address that, I think we'll.
Yeah, so we do have a lifetime fluid warranty. So these fluids come as an A component and a B component. And we basically do what's called a bucket warranty for the lifetime of the fluid that they will hold up to the physical characteristics on the technical data sheet. So those fluids are then shipped to an installer like Jonathan Roll, in which they're installed. So during the installation products, the A and the B component are actually heated, and then they mix up the gun, and that's what makes the end coating that we're kind of passing around here. So warranty in our business typically goes from contractor to end user as far as the application part of the warranty. Now, what he could do and what I would recommend is basically like a retain of every drum, just even like something as simple as a mason jar that even you guys could retain. In which case, if there ever was an issue that wanted to come back on us as a manufacturer, we could have those retains of the raw fluids. So that could be done. You guys could do it on site. We do it internally too. So basically that's what we do on every fluid batch order that's manufactured and delivered. But you guys could do it as well for a peace of mind. And then we are the largest by far coating manufacturing company in the world. So
Where y'all located?
we're all over, obviously, but our headquarters division is in Seattle, Washington. So we are the oldest polyurea manufacturer, and now we are with PPG, which is the largest coating manufacturer.
How long y'all have been in, your company's been in business?
48 years.
You haven't been with them 48 years.
I have not.
So wonder why do they not just, if the concern is with the screws?
That's right. So a metal building only has three places it can read. You got the ridge cap, seams, and screw heads.
Okay, so why spray other than, it costs more?
Mhm.
Why do you spray the whole building rather than just the seams, the ridge cap, and the screws?
So, and we are only spraying on these buildings to save cost. The expanded portion, the one that actually expands, is only being sprayed over top of the screw head and the seams. And then you're coming back over top of that with an elastomeric coating. So this coating that expands right here, it is a waterproofing agent, but it's not UV stable. It would need something to top coat it over top of it.
So if this part's not leaking, so why are we spraying?
It leaks around the screws. And it
Well,
leaks around the seams.
we're gonna coat the screws,
Mhm.
and we're gonna coat the seams and the ridge cap. So why am I spraying here?
So you're doing that because any coating option that you choose needs to be coated for the entire length of the building, unless you wanted to get up there and abrasive blast or do standoff masking or anything like that. You're going to have a hard edge for anywhere when shrinkage starts happening for pilling to occur. So it would be extremely taboo to ever see a building that just has striping basically on it as a whole. And then you've got, you've got flexing of the building. You've got the metal that was chosen for that building's a very light gauge for its size building, and we're up there, and there's creases to the point of cracks in the metal where it's been walked on and such up there. So,
And this will never crack, never, ever, ever in a million years.
no, not if it's the correct quality is used.
Thank you, Jeremy.
You did not ever say about warranty, what was available on additional warranty and what kind of pricing?
So that goes, there's no additional warranty through us really. That all goes from, like I said, so we warranty that the fluids are what they say they are. They're built in giant, 30-gallon reactors and stuff. It's very easy, flow meters and infrared technology and all kind of stuff. The warranty typically goes from installer to end user. We warranty the fluid. So if there was ever an issue and it come back that come back on us, then we would pay for removal and reinstallation of the poly for the lifetime of the case if it was something that failed from a fluid standpoint.
The fluid standpoint and then the installation is the two issues that we have to deal with.
That's correct, yeah. Mhm. Yeah, and so basically from that, what I would have Jonathan do, and we have it in the specification like this, is that every 3 or 4 hours a day, Jonathan should spray what's called a free film sample, which is where you spray, a sample kind of like we've got over there on a plate. He can spray 2 or 3 of those. He could spray one for his own records, one for your records, and then one for ours. We could ship them back to our lab and run physicals on them to ensure that that coating's coming back within specification.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Does Tim need to be in on knowing what he just said there, as far as it backing that up?
Well, it's in the specification, so if it's moved forward, it's required as far as the pre-film testing portion. So that would be something that would be required from the specification.
You mind, advising Tim about that? No, I think he's back in his own.
The block to get back to him.
Next item I wanted to move to has to do with, the transportation pay plan. And I have actually gone through and we put together some material. There is still, those folders.
Do you want me to go get him out of your
Yeah.
office? Okay.
In the meantime, ask Chief Armstrong.
They started at with you all the way there.
Oh, yeah,
Everywhere.
they passed it all. That's the reason, you know.
Unfortunately, we're in a rock and a hard place. Hey, Chief.
Yeah. Well, I know Chief has another engagement that she needs to get to, so real Chief, I think you got copies.
Yes, sir.
And we'll pass these around. The one thing I wanted to go back and point out is that a lot of discussion has come up about the salaries for our first responders, especially our law enforcement and our firefighters. And what this is a comparison of what's being paid to the different police departments in the area. You've got the Monroe County Sheriff's Department, Atmore, Scandal County, Bruton Police Department, Evergreen, Connecticut County Sheriff, Thomasville, and also Jackson Police Department. And as you go through and you take a look at most of them, you see where Monroeville is kind of not in touch on their on the hourly rates that are being paid. So you know, in some instances, and Chief, I guess you can go through and expand a little bit, like what Atmore they talked about. I guess they're paying for the green.
Yes, sir.
Type thing.
Of course, our sheriff's department is just the base. If you look at theirs, it's $2.05 difference from our certified with us, $1.75 for certified. We've actually lost an officer to them here recently. Atmore PD, they just got a 7% raise. So if you compare this sheet to the sheets you had before, that's the difference in pay based on their new pay scale. And then I did what they pay for bachelor's degrees, what they pay for master's degrees. And I just did it all the way down. The only one close to our pay is going to be Connecticut County Sheriff's Office. And uncertified, they start at $13.38, which is 5 cents more than us. And then once they're certified, they go to $15.36, which is 93 cents more. We've lost 4 officers, and right now there's one for sure that's going to wind up going to the state troopers, and we have 4 others that have applied and are looking for jobs, waiting to hear back from either Thomasville, Atmore, or the sheriff's office.
What we have done, I'd like to take this opportunity to go back and thank Councilman Bruton, Councilman Hines. We've gone through and we worked diligently with the as a subcommittee to try and come up with a pay plan recommendation that we think will work for the city, and also to go through and most importantly identify how we can move into that pay plan and what the associated costs are. As we go through and we look at it in the folder that was passed out to you, there's a document in there that talks about the city of Monroeville, and this is the project report from Auburn University. Well, not Auburn University, it's the Government and Economic Development Institute at Auburn University that performed this. as we went through and we looked at it, and I encourage everyone to go through and kind of take a look at it. Some of the things, especially like, how they did the job evaluations on page 5. On page 6, it goes back and it talks about pay plan development. It talks about compliance with compensation laws. Then as you look at page 7, item 2, item 3, item 4, I think would be of interest to you. Also under D, section 2, the talk about remaining competitive in the job market. And, all of the pay rate changes would have to be approved by the city council. And on page 8, item E, talks about an option to consider for rental service. Now, we did a spreadsheet, and in that spreadsheet, it is a combination of a couple of things. We are basically proposing that, with the exception of the first responders, who are the firefighters and law enforcement, that we move to this pay plan on the first step. And all of those costs that show what current pay is listed, the length of service, and the item in the green is a combination of what Auburn recommended and also what we recommended for the police and the firefighters. And once you go through and you look at this, like I say, this is all entry level based on their recommendations at the first step. The total cost to implement this, if we did it at the beginning of the 4th quarter, is $56,552.19. Now, you go back and you also look at what the difference is on an annual basis for what our payroll is currently, is $2,295,355.56. And implementing this pay plan, the payroll would go to, on an annual basis, $2,500,842.06, which is an increase of $205,486.
Now, the 205 does not include insurance or anything, right?
We got a second sheet in here. And on that second sheet, and this is looking at the if you implement on the first quarter.
Mayor, I didn't put that in the package. Do you want me to go make copies of that?
Yeah, we don't have that.
Okay.
That
I will.
includes the FICA and the
Includes the FICA and everything for the.
and the
fourth quarter.
retirement. Yes,
Right.
sir.
To get us through the 4th quarter if we implement it. And that total cost comes to, is right at 12%.
I did it's 10.9% for tier 1 and 8.54% for tier 2.
Tier 2. So it brings the cost to $66,285.02. Is the amount of money needed to implement for the first quarter. And we will have to go back and, get that information of what the impact would be, estimated impact would be for next year's budget. Now, I'm putting this out here. I do not expect us to take any action on this today. Is to get the council involved and give them an opportunity to review how the study was done and what the proposed pay plan would be in order to move to it. Now, as I said, this is just based on moving everybody at the first step. There is an option that I would like to propose to the council. And that option is we have some people who have worked for the city for many years. And my option proposal is to look at time and grade. Usually when you're with a public agency, you get tenure at 10 years of service. And with that being said, if you have gained tenure with the city that we would look at raising you one step above the base pay grade. And if you've been there for 15 years or more, we look at the option of to consider looking at putting you 2 steps above the base pay grade. So those are some things for you to go back and take into consideration. Now, this is one of the issues that we went through a lot of discussion over. And the best way that I can explain it to you is this, that there are some pay grades that you will see that receive a larger increase in their salaries than others. The reason that being is that those salaries had not been, the pay grades had not been adjusted since 2002. And you will see in that report there where Auburn has a line that they call the benchmark. And you have a line that's below the benchmark, which is basically where the city of Monroeville stands now. And we come close to touching that benchmark, but from what I've seen in the reports, we don't actually go over it. But what this does, it puts us in the ballpark with other municipalities and county governments in our surrounding areas that we are competing with for talent. And I look at this as looking down the road, because to be able to go back and find someone who can come in and replace the individuals we've got to be competitive on the salary. I'm not saying that we pay the highest salary. All I'm saying is be competitive. So that is why I go to give you information to come back and we have further discussion on it at the next council meeting and to try and move forward. Now, this is a couple of other things I want to put out to you. In this Auburn plan, it has pay steps in each grade. Pay steps are based on performance evaluations, which we're going to have to go back and do with all of the department heads and all of the people who are in supervision positions. Pay steps are tied directly to what you anticipate the revenue will be. If your revenue does not support providing pay increases that year, then you don't provide pay steps. But you still need to do the evaluation. And the reasons that the evaluations are so important, if you run into a problem employee and you need to address that issue, you can't wait till the last minute and you know that you had that issue all year long and then say, well, I'm going to correct it now. So that's why it's important to have evaluations. I've been in situations where people did not do the evaluations and then they came up and they said, this guy has caused us such a problem, we don't need to keep him anymore. My first question is, where's your documentation? And so that's why it's so important to do the evaluation. Evaluation goes both ways. You need to document if they did good, you need to document if they did bad. And one of the policy changes that I think we're going to have to make is that if an individual comes in and his evaluation is substandard, that be presented to the council for review. If an individual comes in and his performance is graded extremely high, I think that documentation needs to be presented for the council for review before any action is taken on moving to those steps. The other issues that came up, some of the things that I looked at is that we'll be in compliance with compensation laws, that these proposed changes are based on the federal civil service approved classification standards. And that goes big time should any situation come up and people question or even come back and want to know how did you come up with these pay grades and these pay ranges. One concern that was presented to me is that there were 4 optional positions that were presented in this study. These optional positions are not actually part of the pay plan. And the thing that I would suggest to the council at this point is that we take those positions and we table them for the time being, we file them back. As we move forward, if it looks like we need those positions, then we can pull them up and consider them. So I'm not asking the council, some of those positions like, it was a city administrator, a revenue officer, human resources officer, and I think there was one other. But at this time, I'm not asking the council to actually consider those. I think we can move with what's identified in the pay plan and try to move forward with this and look at, give some resolution. But at this point, all I'm asking is that you look at it and study it, and we can come back and discuss it again at the next council meeting. I don't want to give you anything that you have not had a chance to look at.
And one thing too, that we kind of touched on, or mainly me, I guess, I think we need to have some kind of professional development plan. I think there's probably the only person in here that's ever ended up where they started was Al, since he's in business for himself. But, I think we need to be able to promote from within. And I think if we do the professional development, then we ought to be able to do that. Because I don't think it's right if we go out there and bring somebody in over somebody that's been in a position for, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, or whatever. And I think, that kind of serves as a carrot out there and gives folks an idea, gives them some incentive to maybe do better. Money is important, but a lot of people, you may have one every now and then that does not want to move up. Most time people are going to want to move up the ladder. And I think it's up to us to make sure that the people that want to move up have the opportunity. If it's training, we got to pay for it, whatever we got to do. I think that's one of to me, that's almost as important as the money. Not quite as important, but it's important.
Wholeheartedly support what Councilman Simon just said. Okay, we're getting short on time. We have more time.
Morning.
Next item, real quick, is that we have the 2020 audit coming up. Jackson Thornton will be the auditing company, and we're looking at that coming up March 22nd through 29th is the time period in which they want to come in and look at all of the materials.
They're doing it virtually again
Right.
this year because we
Right.
have everything scanned into the new software system. So they have their own login to the software system so they can do everything virtually.
Okay.
And we'll scan what we need to send to them.
The other item on here, I'm gonna go through and I'll table it before it comes up. We talked about the intersection out there, at Drury Road and bypass. I had a meeting with AlDOT. I asked them to review the design and everything on that intersection. The merge lane will stay there, but the turn lanes are not marked. And I think that's where people get confused. So I'm asking them to take a look at it. If it comes back, we do the turn lane and the merge lane when they come off on one, right? When they come off, they got that merge lane,
Yeah.
then they move on.
That's what we tried before, because they started without anything. We went back and had them add the arrows.
Merge lane.
Yeah.
We see, we need to come back on this side of it and put the turn lanes in so that they're not trying, they think it's a passing lane.
Well, they get out there and when they get across, they see that arrow, and then they got to keep in the rear end to get on if they're not going to run over somebody.
Yeah, exactly. So ask AlDOT to look at that. Yeah, bring it up next meeting. The next item I have is that the Alabama League of Municipalities are having their annual business meeting that's coming up on May 12th to 15th. And they have asked the cities, they need a person a delegate that has authorization to vote in the business meeting. And they have asked for the voting delegate and an alternate voting delegate and a second alternate voting delegate. So I don't know if, what y'all's opinion is or what your wishes are. I don't have a problem attending, you know. So, but if you want me to be the voting delegate, we have to get that out in a motion and resolution. And we can get that done today.
Does anyone need me to register them for the convention? It's in like Huntsville this year.
They're gonna have to do it this year.
Yes, sir. No virtual.
And what-
It's the lead convention in Huntsville. It's May 12th through the 15th. So they've moved it off of during the whole week. It's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Sir, you won't? You will. Okay.
Okay, I think really, my last two items real quick. We got some excess vehicles. We got, a 2011 Ford Crown Victoria. We got a 2010 Ford Crown Victoria. We got a 2008 Ford Expedition. One of them is in such bad shape, the fire department was asking actually that he donated to them for them practice.
Ooh, that's bad.
This is my suggestion. And we had some people inquire about submitting bids on. What I would like to do is submit bids on them and submit a minimum bid on the vehicle.
We have given some things away.
And based on the condition and talking with Michael and with the chief, like on that 2011 Ford Crown Victoria, minimum bid is $1,500. Transmission going in. So the 2010 Ford Crown Victoria, talk to Mike, talk to the chief. That car's in such bad shape. I think this is the one they were talking about cutting up. If we can get at least a minimum bid of $750 on this. So I don't think you get that on scrap price. The Ford Expedition, it's got 148,000 miles on it. It's got engine issues. These are push button vehicles. Minimum bid of $1,500 on it. So if y'all are good with that, you know, we'll bring it up in motion in council meeting and get those bids out. My last, we gotta talk about, we have funding. When they built the splash pad, they talked about a canopy and everything to go over. So we have the folks and everything that are coming in from Great Southern, I don't remember the last name, but anyway, the Auburn would fund $2,197 for this project, which leaves a remaining balance of $7,477, which was budgeted for in the capital improvement budget for the city. And this is still the canopy over the splash pad. So we'll probably need a motion for that. We're gonna add that. Yeah, but we got the, you did approve it, but now, you know, we gotta give them authorization to spend it. That's why we do the motion. What about what building is it?
There was some talk of benches also, is this included in this?
Benches are not included.
That's the biggest most than anything. I've been out there, you stand around watching the youngins with nothing to do is nice, but the shade part is important, but we have sometimes.
We have $10,000 budgeted in capital improvements. So if they want to get a quote for benches, we have a little cushion.
My experience of that is after experiencing that, when originally put in, I said, we don't need all that stuff, but then after grandchildren out there and you stand there around and holding your hands, what you gonna do? And you're not gonna go back to the car because they're young, you wanna be right there with them.
And you old.
Yeah.
On this,
That's old folks need places to
Yeah,
sit.
on the pay plan, if anybody comes up with any questions, feel free to call.
And there's the book. we can, if you want to come look at the job descriptions, I can print some, or you want to borrow the book?
Well, this is the thing. She said that she had 4 others who had gone out and they put in applications. I think if we get down to the point and we address this issue, they won't be losing. One of them that she definitely gonna lose, and that's Demetrius Stall. But now, if we get our pay plan in place, he may not lose.
We don't have nobody to write tickets and handicap and these spots.
Oh, yeah.
No.
But this will go a long way in helping us. We might be able to even get some policemen from those other places who are already trained, you know, because of our compensation tax.
We need to do anything else when we come back after the council meeting.
Yes, I know.
We got a public hearing.
We going out there.
Yes, sir.
We can come back after the council meeting. We can do something. We need to
Mm,
go.
It's not on the agenda. It's not on the agenda to meet afterwards.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, we'll, yeah, one more item.
One more thing. We can just delay the, yeah.
Do it now.
Go into, yeah, finish your work session, then we can.
Okay, well, I'll just ask that we go into, executive session and, yeah, well, there's no reason why Mary and Amanda can't take the news.
What's the, do you open your folder and what's the reason for going in?
Yes.
To discuss
Yeah,
preliminary.
discuss preliminary negotiations involving trade and commerce. Okay, I have a motion for executive session. Second, all in favor?
Who seconded? Okay. Okay, hang on one second.